Thanks for coming to Busy Girl Fitness. I'm really excited to share with you the things that I have in my gym bag to make my workouts a little bit easier and way more comfortable. Hi guys, I'm Michelle and this is Busy Girl Fitness. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of my weekly videos of what I do to stay fit and healthy as a busy girl. So the topic of today is going to be equipment, and I want to share with you what I like to use in the gym and when I'm on the road in a hotel to make my fitness more comfortable. The first thing I want to talk about is a fitness mat. And so my mat is always in my backpack. First of all, I like my mat because I never know how clean the floor is, and anytime I'm on the floor doing any type of core exercise, I like to use my own mat. I want to share a story with you. I was at a hotel and I went into their gym, and really it wasn't a gym because it was carpeted floors, and I didn't have my gym bag with me, so I had none of my equipment other than my bands, and I was laying on the floor doing a cable torso twist, and my butt kind of started to burn, and I thought, well, it must just be a wedgie. And I kept with my exercise, and then I went back up to my room and I took a shower, and oh my gosh, it stung so bad. It turns out I got a rug burn from my underwear in the crack of my butt, grinding on the floor, the carpet. And so I now no longer travel without my mat. I think especially if you are a traveling mom or a traveling woman and you go into hotels, it's really important to have your mat. You can do workouts in your room, or you can take it down into the gym and do the workout. The second thing I really want to talk about is my gloves. But I want to start by saying I did start using chalk. So when I began my fitness journey, chalk is what I used on my hands. It turns out that I prefer the glove more than chalk, but I do keep the chalk in my bag just in case. The reason I really like my gloves is for two things. Number one, I started by getting calluses on the palms of my hands, and I don't know, I felt like I had man hands, and I was a professional woman going out and doing business, and I would shake hands with people, and I was really self-conscious because I had these big hard calluses on my hands. And so when I started using my gloves, I no longer have calluses on my hands. My gloves really protect the palms of my hands from getting those calluses. The other, I guess, dilemma that I had was my wedding ring. I would wear my wedding ring to the gym and I would lift, and particularly when I would do like a deadlift or a hex bar deadlift, my ring would pinch in between my skin and create a blister. And so then my dilemma became, do I just work through it, or do I take my ring off and leave it in the locker and hope that I lock it and nobody walks off with it? Because let's face it, I'm gonna forget to take my ring off before I leave my house. And so I just opted not to wear a ring ever, because I always forgot to take it off and put it on when I went to the gym. But I would say if you really get into lifting, a silicone ring with your gloves should protect your fingers. So the biggest reason I like my gloves is as I get into really heavy lifts, my hands get sweaty. And I was finding with the deadlift, when I would pull the bar up, I wasn't able to get as much weight up as I thought I should be able to get up, and it was frustrating me. And it's because the bar was slipping on my fingers. And so my gloves have given me grip ability and non-slipping. So I really like them when I'm doing pull-ups and deadlifts and anything where I'm pulling a bar up from the ground. These gloves I've had forever and ever. I really like these gloves. I've tried tons of different gloves, and I find that many times they're going to rip out right here on the seam. These have been fantastic. I've had them, I can't even tell you how many years, and I've not had any issues with ripping or splitting or anything like that. So trial and error to find gloves that you like. These fit my hands really well, and I have been able to improve my weightlifting by adding the gloves. So the other thing that I always have in my bag is my wrist wraps. And I guess pros and cons to wrist wraps. The one thing I don't like about any wrist wrap is I like to wear a fitness watch, and when you wear a wrist wrap, you need to keep it tight on your wrist. And so I have to take my fitness watch off to put my wristband on. And to put my wristband on, I'm going to make it as tight as possible. And I use these when I do bench presses. And so I weigh about 130 pounds, and I was maybe getting up 60 to 75 pounds on my bench press, and I was frustrated because I wanted to at least hit 100 pounds. Ultimately my goal would be to hit my body weight, but I'm not there yet. And so someone suggested that I get a wristband. And if you can see this wristband on, I'm not able to bend my wrist at all. So what was happening is I was putting the weight on my bar, and I would press up, and the weight would be heavy and my wrist would go back, and the band won't let my wrist go back. And so I was not having proper form when my wrist broke back, and then I would become unsteady, and then I would lose confidence and I wouldn't get the bar up. So since I have gotten my wristbands, I've been able to improve my bench weight up to 100 pounds. Again, my goal is 130, but I was really excited the first time I hit 100 pounds. And I really believe that that's because of the wristbands and the steadiness that they give to my wrist. So the next thing I want to talk about is probably one of my very favorite topics ever, and who would ever guess that shoes and fitness would be a joint topic? But they are. So I talked earlier a little bit about the deadlift, and gloves helped me with my deadlift, getting the bar off the ground as I hit about the 50-pound mark. My hands just weren't able to lift beyond that 50 pounds. Then I kind of got stuck at 100 pounds. It's probably more with my squat than with my deadlift. I was really struggling to get beyond 100 pounds. And it was my shoes. Who knew shoes could make that much of a difference? So the shoes I was wearing were just my tennis shoes, and as I was lifting, so I kind of have knobby knees anyway, and as I was lifting, my feet went in like that, and when my shoes weren't flat, the cushion was allowing my feet to twist in, and as my feet twisted in, my knees twisted in. And then, of course, I broke my form and I wasn't able to get the weight up. So by having the proper shoes, I went with this brand, but you could use any brand. You would just want to make sure that the bottom is completely flat and they're sturdy. I immedately increased both my deadlift and my squat weight by quite a bit. The next thing is my weight belt. So I didn't tell you on my bands, but I had to measure my wrist. And so I would encourage you to measure your wrist so that you know the size, and then order appropriately. So I had to order an extra small, and they were pretty hard to find, but equally as difficult to find was the belt. So when I measured my waist, it was 25 inches, and a small starts at 26 inches. So I had to get an extra small belt. And it was pretty difficult to find, but I did find it on Amazon. And I want to tell you what the belt did. So now I have the gloves that helped with my palms. I have the shoes that helped with my knees and my feet. I got stuck at about 150 pounds, which was good because it was a little over my body weight, about 20 pounds over my body weight. I wanted to hit 200 pounds, and so by evaluating myself, I learned that I was using my back to lift and not my glutes. And so it's really important when you're lifting that you lift properly. The belt put me in the right form, so I was not able to lift with my back. When I switched to my glute muscles, obviously I was able to lift a lot more weight. I quickly went up to 200 pounds on my deadlift and 195 pounds on my squat, which is almost 1.5 times my body weight. My goal is 250. So hopefully when I check in again with you guys in 6 months, I'll be at 250 pounds. But I really do recommend a belt, especially as you're going into heavier weight, just if nothing else to keep your form proper. It's so, I would have never guessed how important form and proper equipment would be in this journey. Another thing that I always keep in my bag, of course, is my phone and my earpods. And so I use Busigirlfitness app on my phone, and I'm able to track all of my workouts on my app. I really like it because it's got some automatic timers in it, especially when I'm doing my HIIT workout. And then of course my earbuds, because I like to listen to music when I do my workout. Another app I really like on my phone is called Seconds. It's a free app, and you can, if you don't want to purchase an app, you can use that to track your HIIT workouts, and it'll do a timer for you. And so I also like my gliders. Like I mentioned earlier, I am on the road a lot and I travel, and so sometimes I'll go into a hotel that might not have a gym, or the gym really shouldn't be called a gym. And so I can create a whole workout with my sliders and my bands. And so I like to keep my sliders and my bands in my gym bag at all times, just to ensure that I can always have a good workout no matter where I'm at. I also have my very own jump rope. Of course, I like to do HIIT training with my jump rope. So even if there is nothing else when you're on the road, or even if you're at home and you're not ready to go to the gym, start with some sliders, some bands, and the jump rope. And on my Busigirl app, I have some workouts that are for beginners that only would be body weight, jump rope, bands, and sliders. Another thing, I talked in my first episode about goals. I have my goals in my book. My book is always in my bag, and I'm always looking at goals. I like to compare myself to myself, so I want to know what the heaviest I've lifted has been. Now, my app does that, but I like to see it on paper. I like that visual piece. And so I like my book, a picture of my before, a picture of my favorite picture of me, and that really kind of keeps me on track with my goals, which are so important. I'm a visual person. I like to have my goals written out, and in counseling, that's what I always did. What is your goal? How can you get there? And what kinds of things do you need to do to get there? And it's really personalized, and your fitness journey should also be personalized. So another thing I really like to have in my bag is my longer bands. I chose these because there are 3, strength-wise, easy, difficult, and most difficult. And so the handle comes off and on, so you can use any of the 3 bands. And I really like these in hotels. You can do just about any exercise you could do in a gym using these bands. And so these are great for beginners or for anybody that needs to travel for work or for pleasure. Make sure you have the bands in your bag. So of course the bag is great. I chose this bag because for me, I would forget my head if it wasn't attached, and so it's really important for me personally to have all of the stuff that I use regularly inside my bag. So I measured my yoga mat and was able to purchase a bag that was 31 inches, so my yoga mat lays in it very nicely. Though if you purchased a bag that had straps on the bottom, you could have your yoga mat on the bottom of your bag. But I really like this bag because everything that I need fits in it, and I can keep it either in my car or by the door so that I don't forget it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. As you can see, I bring a ton of stuff to the gym, but I'd sure love to hear what you bring to the gym. Hey girls, make sure you subscribe. Every week I'm going to upload a new video on what I am doing to stay active and fit as a busy girl.